Welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. I'm a licensed cognitive behavior therapist, that's a CBT therapist, and a licensed mental health counselor. I'd like to start by thanking all my subscribers, viewers, for your pleasant, respectful, kind, mindful comments. In my previous clip, I spoke about the FBI officers who came to the house 2 weeks after this horrific unalivings. This was way before they arrested Brian Christopher Kohlberger. Like I told you, I'm a reaction channel, and I needed to react something that is the truth. In this case, like I mentioned to you all, I've been in this case from the very beginning. I've been watching all the big channels, Ikemail, Savgirl, all of them, Grizzly True Crime, and many of the channels that were in. Although I have a small channel, I was following from the very beginning. And it's not like I don't know the facts of the case. I know the facts, the affidavit, but I'm more out for other important questions, like why was the timeline changed? But I promised y'all in my previous clip that I am going to be honest and say JLR investigates was and is boots on the ground, whether I may agree or disagree with him. The truth has to be told. And he wasn't making up stories when he said that he heard Brian is auntie, because I've been in this case from the very beginning. And I like to go and do my research and facts. If that was said, you can clearly check it easily in the news channels, and I'm going to play it now. Second thing, if JLR said that Brian Kohlberger's family are against him and they're not visiting him in jail because they believe he did it, I don't believe that. And I will show you all proof of that from the very beginning of this case. For major mainstream news channels. I'm not saying that the mainstream is always right, but the bigger the channel is, like ABC and NBC, there are facts in the case. And Brian's sisters, one is a mental health counselor, just like me. The poor woman, his job was taken from her. Both the sisters, one is an actress and one is a counselor. Even the second one became a school youth career advisor, something in the mental health department. It's not fair that they lost their jobs because we're not even sure if Brian Christopher Kohlberger did this or did not do this. This is so unfair. But I'm going to show you what JLR investigate is talking about. Yes, there was Brian Kohlberger, his auntie, who came out in the beginning. And I've never believed her. She's allegedly not even his direct auntie. She is an in-law auntie. She lives in Las Vegas. JLR is right about that. You can check it on the news, and I'm going to play it for you. She said that when the family used to come from Pennsylvania, Brian and his father and his sisters, she said that Brian was around 12 years old, 10 years old. He used to act very weird. Basically, she was trying to say he was awkward and such things. She personally believed that he did it. But then, they don't even live in the same place. She lives in Las Vegas. Any 10, 12-year-old boy can be awkward or shy. or anything. They have the hormone changes going on, many things. But then we have to always keep in mind. And I've always got kind of targeted if I mention the part that let's not forget, and let's be fair. We don't know Brian Koberger is mental health record. That is on Gag order. And if this man really used A-class rugs like H-E-R, you'll know which one I'm talking about, then obviously it could have given him psychologically damage. It would have messed up his brain cells. But the question is, which of his friends are lying and which of them are telling the truth? And another thing I have to point out clearly, Willie, that comes on YouTube, knows people who know Brian Koberger. He said himself many times on many channels, without naming the channels, he's always said he's never directly met him. The people who directly met him can actually talk, and those ones even, we don't know if they're adding things up, if they just thought he was awkward and they just decided, yeah, it's him, like this girl here. Some of them are doing it for clouts and attention, let's not forget. The one that I find interesting, the two interviews I find interesting, I will play them very soon. And they make a lot of sense to me. Those are the ones we should be focused on. That is what makes me believe, as a mental health counselor, that Brian Koberger could actually be innocent, or he could be actually part of this. I've always stood by that because there are things that do not make sense with Brian Christopher Koberger. Everything doesn't line up. Even with him, with the frats. And I'm just here to get the correct justice. I'm not accusing this man. But let's continue.
Were just released that gives us insight into quadruple murder suspect Brian Koberger. Koberger's alleged aunt is breaking her silence on the horrifying case out of Idaho and revealing more details about what may have led up to the tragic killings. The aunt, who remained anonymous, spoke to the U.S. Sun and said she struggles to watch the news as detectives reveal facts from the early morning hours of November 13, 2022. Prosecutors say Koberger fatally stabbed 4 University of Idaho students, Xana Kernodle, Ethan Chapin, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Gonzalez, inside their off-campus apartment in Moscow, Idaho. The medical examiner said based on their wounds, they were attacked in their sleep. Koberger wasn't arrested for weeks, but investigators eventually tracked him down over the holidays to his parents' home in Pennsylvania, thousands of miles away from the crime scene. The case and the major arrest made national headlines, and Koberger was extradited back to Idaho. Few details about the case have been released due to a gag order in effect that prevents attorneys, law enforcement, and others associated with the case from talking about it. Now Koberger's alleged aunt is speaking out, saying she was at a loss of words when she heard about what her nephew is accused of, and said she isn't ruling out that he is responsible for the tragic murders. His aunt explained to The Sun there had been a lot of drama in the family around the time of the murders, which couldn't be elaborated on for legal reasons. She says even before Koberger's arrest, she had not spoken to his parents, but said their worlds were turned upside down. When Koberger was younger, his aunt says he and his family would fly out to Vegas, where she had been living. She said when he was younger, the eventual murder suspect was shy and humble, but also described him as a troubled teenager. She claims he suffered from depressive episodes, and while she was told he was on medication, she wasn't sure what he was prescribed by doctors. The alleged aunt also revealed she suspected Koberger was taking drugs as a teen after falling into the wrong crowd. She claimed it was no big secret he was allegedly into the drug scene, but says she was concerned he was taking the drugs to deal with mental health issues. Koberger's alleged aunt also disclosed to The Sun she had hoped he would clean up his act, as he began to have an interest in criminology, a similar pathway for other family members who also studied forensics. And he did. Koberger eventually became a PhD candidate at Washington State University, a less than half an hour drive from the crime scene in Moscow, Idaho. Koberger's aunt says she hadn't seen her nephew in more than 5 years before his arrest. Koberger's parents and two sisters have reportedly shown support for the murder suspect and believe he is innocent. However, his sisters were fired from their jobs earlier this year over their relationship with the alleged killer. Koberger's alleged aunt thinks her nephew will be found guilty when the case eventually goes to trial, although he has maintained his innocence and is reportedly confident he will be exonerated. Koberger's trial was initially set to begin in October, but it got pushed back when Koberger waived his right to a speedy trial. No new date for his trial has been.
So this is proof, facts, and evidence that JLR investigates is telling the truth. That's why it's important to be in this case from the very beginning. Many of my subscribers have been following this case from the very beginning, and we remember things we heard. That's why we say allegedly, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the things we heard from the college, from the university, it doesn't mean that since it's not in the evidence and affidavit, it doesn't mean that it's untrue. Like the 4chan, it could be true and it could be a lie. But everything was put there in details. And guess what? Everything happened in that order and in that manner. After showing your people carrying at the grub truck, carrying weapons, you can clearly see what they're carrying in their belt and their jeans. Go back to my clips for these last 3 weeks. I showed you Hunter Johnson with a black eye. Just watch the memorial and zoom into his eye. He was recovering. Wasn't he the man that the surviving roommates called first? But let me come back to this point. This is a fact. There was a so-called alleged aunt who was talking and saying that she knew Koberger since he was 10, 12 years old. Let's not forget, this aunt is an in-law aunt. She lives in Las Vegas. She said the family were having it hard and it was a terrible time for the family. Yes, imagine if it's innocent. If he's innocent, it is terrible for his family that their son gets locked up for the sake of touch DNA that could have been planted there. For all we know, nothing in this case makes sense. But his aunt says it was no big secret. He was into rug scene. And she was concerned he was doing CO, using mushrooms, drinking, hardcore, popping pills to deal with these mental health issues. So now I am actually going to go a bit deeper. Being a licensed mental health counselor and a cognitive behavior therapist, I know enough. I still have more to learn, but through experience, through having this as my degree, I have seen many, many cases that people who are abusing drugs, especially strong drugs like this, can end up having mental health illnesses like schizophrenia. Let's not forget, Koberger was doing that 5 years before he was arrested. I would say he was 22. In psychology, it's a known fact. The brain cells do not completely develop till somebody is 26, 27 years old. So those times he was going through definitely depression. He wrote that article, which I did research. It was true. He wrote it about if he's like a sack of meat and such things. So he was going through things. But what could have been the symptoms that the rug abuse left him with? We need to be non-biased. Let's not forget, we don't know if Koberger is guilty or innocent. I personally think that he could be involved because there's certain things that wouldn't make sense. Why did he come back the next day at 9:15 in the morning to the same location? Unless maybe that's what I always said. Could Koberger have come to that area that night? I don't think the FBI would be wrong about that. But he was driving maybe to buy rugs. Maybe from 1122 Kings Road, allegedly, like the cab driver told the local news that he used to drive people to 1122 King Road to get rugs. And I personally believe I know what is the exculpatory evidence Koberger is talking about with Bethany Funk. Bethany Funk is definitely involved, and I'll do a clip soon about it. When I put this article to the one of what Bethany Funk was doing in her Venmos, the messages that were being passed around, it will make sense to me that Bethany Funk was selling in the house. And maybe other people were selling too. It could have been a shakedown, something went wrong. Isn't it interesting that if Koberger was suffering of depression, we had Brent Kopacker too. May he rest in peace. Could one of them have had a hallucination, could have had a psychotic episode? And let's say it wasn't only them. What if the person who mastered all this could have been the teacher himself, T.A. Brian Koberger, allegedly? What if he came out with all the plan? What if he had other participants, like the frats, the jacks? So his aunt says it was no big secret. He was into the rug scene. And she was concerned he was also doing COCINE and mushrooms. He was hard liquor. He was popping pills to deal with these mental health issues. And in mental health counseling, we call that self-medication. So this man was self-medicating himself. And then the aunt says that he was on some kind of medications. Was he on antidepressants? I'm not judging. This is the part I've always been interested in the 2 years. And that's because mental health is my branch. I love mental health. And I hope all the victims of mental health can get the correct help they deserve. Get the correct therapy. That's why it's important for everyone to take a moment to breathe in, breathe out in our daily lives. There's too much stress going on. Koberger is auntie, allegedly, his aunt-in-law. They're not mentioning that part, but she's an aunt-in-law. So I guess it's Koberger's uncle's ex-wife. And she's an ex, by the way, ex-wife. Ex-aunt, last time she saw him was 10 years old, is talking about him. But it depends, how close was she with the family? Well, it seems like they weren't talking terms. But what is interesting is, I'm going to show you all another clip after this one, where J is for Justice is right in that part, and we all need to remember that part. That's why it took me time, because I was already actually trying to find that clip, which I finally found. The one I'm going to analyze soon is about what Koberger's family. I mean his mother, father, his two sisters. One is a school mental health counselor and the other is a youth guidance career. That's the one who was an actress. Strangely enough, she acted a movie where girls were a horror movie where they're running and SK was running after them, deleting them. But that is just a movie. It's just a coincidence. I don't think it's fair that they should lose their job. But in this part, JLR investigates. I really appreciate what he's done in this case. Because if it wasn't for JLR, we would have never known about the young man that we need to dig deeper into his case. I don't believe it was an accident. Hudson Lindo. That happened in March 2022. 5 months before the Idaho 4. It was JLR who first brought it to our notice of Hannah Clee. And Hannah Clee's brothers were at the grub truck with the white Hyundai Elantra. Pay attention. If you go back to my grub truck videos, somebody asked me if they could analyze what I analyzed and they had more to add in. The thing is, nobody seems to be using it under fair use purpose, so I'm just really disappointed. That's what Jeff Hitch did after I found Joe Vito. And the same with Said. Big creators have just come and haven't used it under fair use purpose. I don't mean to complain, but it is the truth. And when somebody puts in the hard work, I show where I get my things from. This is from Law and Crime. This is under fair use purpose. But JLR was right. The so-called aunt, ex-aunt, came and was insisting that she believes that Koberger did it. We don't know who did it. It could have been involved or it could have been innocent. Or it could have planned this for all we know. Something isn't right. I've watched so many cases. Serious highlighted cases. And I've never seen somebody arrested wearing suits every time. The Congalvis family, Kaylee's family, have every right to have asked the judge to let him wear the orange suit. Because, don't forget, the court hasn't started. We can't be biased. Put yourself in the family's shoes. I can put myself in Koberger's family's shoes. But right now, I don't think Brian would have just been sitting innocently 2 years in jail if he had nothing to do with it. That's my personal opinion. I know some people may be upset, but it's the truth. We can't just sneak away and hide and run from the truth. There's certain questions to be asked. You know that Koberger is suffering of depression. He wrote that in his article. And it was his article. But what is strange is the aunt says he was a young, humble, and decent man. That's what I hear from everyone. So there's certain things that make me believe, why would he just snap, go unalive 4 students in a house with all the lights on from the back door within 15 minutes? They want us to believe that we are watching a John Wick movie. This ain't. This is real life. Make it make sense. I don't believe he did this. By himself, at least. If he did it, he could have lent his knife to one of the roommates. One of the victims. One of the surviving roommates even. What is between BK And Bethany Funk is very interesting for me. What kind of escapatory evidence does she have that will get him exonerated? What is their relationship? Was it a pusher and somebody buying it off? Was Koberger buying something from 1122 Kings Road? Is this the reason this case is on hush hush? I don't believe it was outsiders, even if it was about rugs. This was more to do about the university. I wouldn't be surprised if the grub truck and Mad Creek are involved, even the corner club, allegedly. Everyone started deleting their Facebooks, changing owners. Something wasn't right. So if he has mental health issues, because he was self-medicating on a serious, heavy drug, A-class rug, A-class. We know which one it was, with H. So 5 years, something's not right. He was in addiction for 5 years. Then he went to rehab, cleaned himself, got his bachelor. So Koberger knows a lot about psychology. Let's not forget. He took his bachelor degree there. And that is when he made the survey asking people to participate. And that actually, I'm not on the mainstream news side, but that even as a therapist got me thinking that he could have been trying to outsmart people. Because I don't even understand how DeSales University allowed that dissertation to go through. We're not allowed to conduct such research in our mental health. Taking psychology, mental health, CBT is actually more my branch. But I'm a mental health counselor to start with. And if he knows a lot about psychology, which he does, and he's putting up some such surveys to ex-cons who have deleted people, offed people, then there is a situation here. That's what I'm saying. I still believe it's 50-50. At times I believe he's innocent, but then when I ask myself there's certain questions, and I don't believe his aunt is completely lying. There is some truth in it. If you look at Koberger, you can see from his eyes. At least as a licensed mental health counselor, this is just my personal opinion. I can see a man who's been through a lot, addiction, and don't come for me, this is my opinion, but 85% mental health illnesses. I won't be surprised if he did it and if he is involved, if he had a psychosis episode going on. How do we know that he didn't go back to his heavy rugs that he was using? Could he have been buying it from Bethany Funk? Just a question, because it shows on the Venmos, which I'll show you soon. This is all alleged, this is all speculations, but these were all the things that were out from the beginning. So JLR investigates. It was and is boots on the ground. And he was right about the aunt. But Koberger's parents, I'll show you soon what they exactly believe. Because it's getting tiring hearing that argument that his parents and his sister called the police on him, or if they didn't, and the journey of Koberger with his father. Yes, JLR Investigates was right. He was 100% right. Koberger's father came so that he could drive back with his son, because Koberger didn't want to drive alone for 18 hours, And he didn't want to take a plane because he has plane fear or something. So I don't know if the father and him planned it, but I have a clip on that too. So when JLR investigates, puts up these reports, yes, there's speculations, but no, there's a lot of facts in it. Because as JLR investigates, shout out to him, Olivia, Chronicles of Olivia, who did her first interview, the only interview from YouTube, with the Congalvis, who requested her, and she's really good at what she does. Bullhorn Betty was with her. So we have to put our personal opinions aside. Teamwork is the dream work. Every channel has so much good for the last 2 years, right up to now. If you put all those puzzles together, believe me, we would have known exactly who the suspects are. Please like, share, and subscribe. So yes, this is Law and Crime 2 years ago. His aunt in Las Vegas, who's his aunt-in-law, who was married to Koberger's uncle, believes he did it, but I don't believe her. The last time she saw him was when he was 10 or 12 years old. She wouldn't know how he turned out to be when he was 28. But it's interesting that she says he was on some kind of medications and he had mental health illness. Just that green part where it's written his aunt, it was no big secret. He was into the rug scene. Bethany Funk, Venmos, written COKE. And she was concerned. He was also doing COKE, mushrooms, drinking hard liquor, popping pills to deal with his mental health issues. And this, you can get it from a licensed mental health counselor. He was self-medicating, and that is dangerous. If he was doing that with such serious drugs, he could have had a psychosis episode any period of his life. He suffered of OCD, he suffered of depression allegedly. This is just my personal opinion, and especially a personal opinion from what I'm best in, mental health. There is something there, and I remember Ashley Banfin saying it in the beginning, that Koberger, his mental health records have been sealed. They were put on gag order later on so we wouldn't find what illnesses he suffers of. So I would take that, not with a grain of salt, I would have taken that serious. Because you can see he was recovering from something or the other. It shows on his face. Although the last 1 year he's getting much better, it looks like. What was going on in 1122 Kings Road is my question. There was supposed to be a shakedown the night before. Kim, WSU Kim wasn't wrong about that. I've heard that right from the beginning, from college students themselves. I don't want to put out sources, but there was going to be a shakedown. So think about that. I believe Maddie and Kaylee were going to tell on something or someone. They were going to tell on the frats about Hudson Lindo or Hanackley. Hanackley's brother were there at the grub truck, and they're driving a white Hyundai Elantra. Brian could have been working with them. Why was his car seen around them? Maybe they borrowed the knife sheet from him and he wasn't involved. Maybe that's how his touch DNA landed there, and when he found out about the crime, maybe he came back next morning to see. He understood that they left the knife sheet behind there, or possibly the knife. He knows something, definitely. Please like, share, and subscribe.